warning about a Trump groundswell for months. Now Moore is out with a new documentary called Michael Moore in Trumpland. It's part impassioned soliloquy, part focus group. In the film, Moore speaks to a theater full of Trump and Clinton supporters in the small Republican-leaning town of Wilmington, Ohio. And he sets out to see if there is such thing as middle ground to be found between these two groups of voters.
Every beaten down, nameless, forgotten working stiff who used to be part of what was called the middle class loves Trump. He is the human Molotov cocktail that they've been waiting for. The human hand grenade that they can legally throw into the system that stole their lives from them.
Who doesn't like the Supreme Court's decision on gay marriage in here? You don't support it, right? Anybody else back there? Sir? Okay, sir? Then don't get gay married. Right?
Well, Michael Moore joins me now. I have to say, Michael, I loved the idea of what you had to do. Bring them all into a room. Frankly, it's what the two presidential candidates should have been doing. It's what many political leaders, what we in the media probably should be spending more time doing. And it just, you put them all together. How did they interact?
People were fine with each other. That room was about 1/3 Trump people, 1/2 Hillary people, and the others were not going to vote.
Why did they trust you? Why did the Trump people trust you on this?
I've always got, well, I grew up amongst, I am them in that way. I mean, I am Trump's demographic. I am an angry white guy over the age of 35.
Okay.
So on that level.
And you'd like to throw a Molotov cocktail at Washington.
And sometimes, yes, I've known that feeling where I'd like to just kind of, let's just blow this up and start it over. I mean, not violently, of course.
Yes.
But, so I understand, but mainly because my friends who lost their jobs in the auto factories and the people who have suffered now, literally some of them for decades, because this started back in the 80s under Reagan, I understand why they're angry, and I understand why they want to do that. So I thought if I could just bring them in the room with a whole bunch of people and speak to each of them, that maybe there was some common ground we could find, and maybe I could convince them to not use the ballot next Tuesday as an anger management exercise.
You know, I thought it was interesting when we played the gay marriage excerpt, not because you pointed the couple of people that raised their hand about it, the fact that nobody really did.
Right.
And it is sort of, I do feel as if that one way we're going to look back on this election is that it's the end of, so I was talking with another longtime Democratic strategist about this, and he believes this too, that our divide had been social issue based. The red-blue divide.
Right.
We are now, and we're seeing, this was the year we found out, oh, geez, trade really shakes up both parties. Do you think we're headed to a new red-blue divide that is based on the economy?
Yes, and I think that this is the end of the culture wars. I think a lot of liberals are saying, oh, Mike, after the election, even if Hillary wins, the other side is going to be so.
And vice versa. There's pockets in each side that don't. But yes, the big issues.
The big issues are over. Yeah. They're not going to go to the mat on gay marriage anymore, or pro-choice, or all this stuff. I think that's over. So that's good. We're moving into the future now, and the issues are going to be economic based. Does the government help me as a working person, as a family member, or is the government more concerned about Wall Street? And that's why Trump's been able to speak to people I know when he goes after Hillary for the speeches to Goldman Sachs, or goes against Ford Motor and says, you build those cars in Mexico, I'm going to put a tariff on them.
You know what's interesting to me is that we know they're in Iowa, which is there are Obama-Trump voters. Okay, they voted Obama in Iowa, and mostly they thought Mitt Romney didn't understand their problems and didn't identify them. And these same people that voted Obama in Iowa are going to vote Clinton.
Right.
How many of those, do you think there are enough of those in Michigan to flip it? And that's going to flip Iowa. Are there enough of those guys in Michigan?
I think, and I want to warn everybody, do not trust these numbers. I think the Trump vote is being, no, well, look, I'm in Michigan, so on the morning of the primary in March, all the polls, this network, all the networks.
Everybody missed Bernie.
Said that she was going to win that night by 8 to 25 points.
Right.
And, of course, she lost 12 hours later. I think that there is so much despair in the state of Michigan, so much anger at the system, and when people hear Clinton, they hear Bush. And when they hear Bush, they hear Clinton. And it's Clinton, Bush, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Clinton, Clinton, Bush. That's been their life, and that's the system. And that's why he's been able to manipulate. And it's a con job to my friends and people I know in Michigan that are thinking of voting for him. And I am not sleeping, basically, because I am spending my this week, last week, in these Brexit states and talking to people in Michigan and Ohio and Pennsylvania.
It's interesting you're calling them Brexit states.
That's what they are. They're the Brexit states because it's the angry middle class, or used to be the middle class, and now they are people that work 2 jobs and are struggling to get by.
If Hillary Clinton is elected president, what's your advice to her on connecting with this? Because I think look, whoever wins has got to reach out to this angry other side, because there's going to be, if she wins, you know, does she have this theater? Should she have a theater of just Trump supporters in Michigan and Ohio?
She'll win them over because what she's going to do are going to be all things that help them. She's going to make sure that the women in their families are paid the same as men. She's going to support legislation that has a family leave, a paid maternity leave. She's going to support the things that are going to help them. She's going to fix the pipes in Flint, Michigan, so people aren't drinking poisoned water anymore. I mean, they'll see that, and then they'll go, you know what? And I saw it even in my show there in that Republican town. I had Trump people come up to me afterwards and said they were going to think about what they didn't tell me they were going to vote for Hillary, but they said, I said, well, what made you change your mind? And you said, well, you showed that picture of her holding that baby in Estonia when she was out, you know, trying to do research on her health care plan 20 years ago. And they said, you made her look like a human being. I said, well, she is a human being. She's a wonderful human being.
But her problem with some of these folks is the idea is, you know what, though, she plays by her own set of rules, which means ultimately she's going to help her friends before she helps me.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that is, like, how do you shake that?
It's a perception that I think the media has created this. I mean, she probably hasn't helped it herself, but just the fact, like with the email server, why did she have a private server? Because she's been through so much abuse and attack for years. She's thinking to herself, I want my private life to be private. It ended up exploding. Now we know that her favorite show was The Good Wife, Sunday nights at 9 p.m. I know everything about her now. The exact opposite of what she wanted to happen. But what people have just got to get a reality check here. We're talking about emails, folks, versus everything that he said he's going to do to blow up the system. And you don't want to see that. You don't want to see the economy is going to go in the tank the day after this election if he's elected. If you think you're suffering in Michigan now, wait till President Trump is elected. This is, I'm doing my best to explain to people that while they have every right to be upset at what they've had to go through.
What do you tell this person? You just said yourself, Clinton, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Clinton, Bush.
Yeah.
So you're telling them, pick Clinton over Trump. You're telling them, I know your life's going to be miserable than Trump, but then they sit there and say, oh yeah, but you know, Bill Clinton signed NAFTA, and then, well, you know,
yeah,
so
I know,
why should they believe that?
Yeah, I say to them, because you're picking the right Clinton this time. You're picking the Clinton, Scott. I'm telling you, she is going to...
Do you find her a better Clinton than Bill?
Absolutely. No, with no disrespect to him, but she's a woman who's had to go through, in the first feminist of the 60s and 70s. She's had to suffer. She's walked through the fire.
I feel like that scar tissue is going to...
Yes, the memory of what it's been like to be the minority, to be the person who has been harassed and attacked, all the things, the embodiment of that's in Donald Trump. She's lived that, and now she's going to sit in that Oval Office, and you know what? I think the first thing on her mind every day is going to be, let's make sure we don't hurt anybody, especially the children and especially the families. I totally believe that, and I say that as a Bernie voter and as someone who's never voted for her. I'm excited to go and vote for her next Tuesday.
The new movie is Trumpland. I have to say, every time I go on any of my streaming sites, whatever, it's getting some views.
It's quite a few people are watching it. Yeah. It's #1 still in the country. I'm stunned by it. I'm happy, and if people watch it, especially people who are thinking of not voting, that's the worst thing. Yeah, I want people to watch it. If you're thinking of not voting,
Michael Moore.
All right.
Thanks for coming in. Good to see you, sir.
Thanks for having me in person.
Up next.